There we go. All
Yay.
right. So we are beginning recording. Just out of courtesy for all those latecomers who were just figuring out their Zooms, or if you're like me, you click on the start meeting now and your computer says you need to restart your whole computer because we need to update Zoom. It always happens when you want to start it. So I always give grace to a couple people. I know that you're coming and going, and I will be letting the people in throughout the presentation. As we do our presentation today, like I said, my name is Erin Angelo. If you don't know me yet, I am the Executive Director for Parkinson's Orange County. With me today, I have the Queen Bee herself. We refer to her as Miss Lauren Simmons. She is the President of the Board of Parkinson's Orange County. And we, both of us, were lucky enough to attend the World Parkinson's Congress, which was last May 24th through 27th. We were there for 3 days, absorbing and hopefully learning as much as we could from some of the best researchers and scientists in the world, which was an incredible experience. And Lauren, I'm sure you would agree with me, a very overwhelming experience,
It
meaning
was a lot.
it
Yep.
was a lot. The one piece of feedback that we've gotten over and over, even if you were on this call and you also went, was that it was very overwhelming, meaning all these scientists were presenting their latest information and the latest research, but they were talking in very scientific terms. So it was hard for us to understand, digest, and certainly extrapolate real life information at the moment. So thank you for joining me a couple weeks later. I've done the hard work for you. Haha, meaning I've accumulated slides, conferences, lectures, seminars, posters, and research, collaborated them by topic, and then most importantly, taken the practical takeaways for you and I, because after all, what good is research unless we're able to use it? So without further ado, let's get started. Lauren, is there anything else that you wanted to add before we kick off our World Parkinson's Congress summary?
I don't think so. I just, when you were talking about it being overwhelming, I was on a young onset group the other day with a bunch of people that had been there. And one guy said, if I didn't go to a single session, no classes or anything, I just hung out with people and went to the exhibit hall and all that, he said it would have been well worth it. It
Correct.
was overwhelming, but it was great to be around so many people with so many different levels of Parkinson's and just be able to be yourself. It was really good.
Absolutely. And also be with thousands, literally thousands of people, all very passionate about the same thing.
Hmm.
I didn't have to pick and choose. I met people from Australia and Spain, Europe and Germany, everywhere. Every single expert, advocate, researcher, they all had the same goal, which is, of course, to eradicate Parkinson's. But in the meantime, make sure that we're all living our best quality of life. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. So let me go ahead. I'm going to share my screen. And the very first thing I'm going to do is share my PowerPoint. So here we go. Setting this one, setting it to a slideshow. Et voila. Give me a thumbs up if you can see everything all clear and you can hear me. Perfect. If at any point you have trouble seeing my slides, if at any point you aren't sure what's going on, by all means, feel free to unmute yourself and ask. We are a small enough group today where, after all, this is called Ask an Expert. You can stop me at any time and ask questions. I want to clarify and preface that I, myself, am not an expert. I am simply a bringer of information, meaning I am not a medical professional. I am not a research expert. I am simply the one taking all the information and hopefully translating it for your use. So, by any means, please stop me, ask questions. If I can't answer them, I'm happy to direct or get the more information for you. Let's begin. So, one of the very first things that we learned that was talked about nonstop, and I'm sure Lauren would agree, was exercise. And in case you haven't noticed, maybe you've been hiding under a rock since your Parkinson's diagnosis, exercise is one of the most hotly talked about topics in terms of treating Parkinson's disease. But what was interesting about the conference was exercise was not held to the same sort of standard as it has been with Parkinson's. For example, when we treat Parkinson's disease, we always talk about medication. Medication is what treats Parkinson's disease, right? Medicine, Parkinson's. We think of it as pills. The World Parkinson's Congress actually started talking about how medicine is, exercise is no longer seen as just a health and wellness thing, sort of like good for you, you should get out and do it, makes you feel better concept. They started talking about exercise as actual medication, meaning that if you take it, exercise, you will quite literally reduce your symptoms as well as any sort of progression of the disease. And so we talked about exercise as medicine, and we began to talk about it in different ways, not just one type of exercise or any type of exercise, but how to meaningfully use it as a medication tool. However, like I said, I will preface this and say that exercise is not medicine nor pills, nor should you all say, I'm going to throw out my carbidopa, levodopa, and just start walking because that's what Aaron told me. No, no, definitely not saying you should throw away your medicine. I am saying, though, that now the World Parkinson's Congress, as well as many scientists and clinicians, all agree that exercise can be treated as a medical intervention, not just a health and wellness portion. What we're going to talk about today is some of the latest discoveries they learned in terms of resistance and resilience as it's used in exercise and the brain. What is the difference between the two, and what does that mean for you and I? We are going to also talk about current exercise targets for people with Parkinson's, where you are and what you should do, and how to make exercise specific, safe, and repeatable. Of course, we are all at different stages, ages, and phases in terms of our exercise. I don't suggest that you follow in the footsteps of Jimmy Choi, who's a American Ninja Warrior Parkinson's guy. When he told us his exercise regimen, you remember, Lauren, he said he begins every single day with 100 push-ups, 100 pull-ups, and 5 miles of running. I think was his.
Something
It was something.
insane.
It was something ridiculous. I could never do that. I don't have Parkinson's. I'm half his age. No,
But he
but
also
the
said to work at your own speed.
correct. So let's talk today about what it means for you, because it's certainly not us trying to be American Ninja Warrior. So, one of the very first things, what the research or what the slides were actually telling us, exercise was repeatedly framed as a treatment as part of clinical care. When we talk about clinical care, it means that just like you taking your medications every 2 to 3 hours, you must take your exercise. It's a non negotiable if you want to actually mitigate your symptoms. An active lifestyle can transform function and quality of life. I don't have to repeat that, you already know it. And exercise should be personalized according to symptoms, goals, safety, medication, and disease stages. Meaning, if you're in stage 1, stage 2, stage 4, or stage 5, we should find you exercises and activities that work for you. Um, I want to just say, clarifying that evidence is promising, but it's still evolving. And some of the neuroprotection findings that they're discovering, meaning resistance and resilience, is still coming from animal studies, meaning they haven't studied it enough in humans. Translation, what does this mean? From somebody like me, I don't know if you all know, I run the program RX Ballroom Dance. It's a ballroom dance therapy program. Only this last year, have they been doing human clinical research trials on the impact of exercise and dual tasking on the brain. Just now, the last year. So, a lot of these models that I'm about to present to you were done on animals, and that's why they're still saying, hey, 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 we're just beginning to realize the impact on real humans. So, let's dive in. So, first of all, let's talk about what resistance means and what resilience means, because they're two different things. And I want you to think about them logically in terms of putting them into your life. Resistance are things that may help protect the brain against the pathology or Parkinson's, aka resistance is stopping the disease from progressing. Meaning you have neurodegenerative disease. We clearly know that. If you use resistance exercise, you can quite literally stop the dopamine degeneration. That's what resistance means. Resilience is how the brain and person cope with changes and keep functioning. Meaning, hey, you know what? You may be a little slower. Your gait may be a little bit less straight than it used to be. Resilience is your ability to create new neural pathways that never existed before, taking on something new and quite literally overriding the things that have been blocked or are no longer working. The WPC sort of takeaway from this, resilience relates to molecular or structural imprints in the brain, and resistance refers to, of course, changes or delays in non-progression in the brain. So, fancy way of saying that, look right here at this part. This is what I want to highlight for you. Resistance in the brain looks like aerobic exercise, getting your heart rate up, strength training, flexibility, and multitasking. We'll go into that in just a little bit. Resilience, building new neural pathways, refers to dual tasking activities, aka using your motor cortex and cognitive cortex, or what they lovingly refer to walking and chewing gum at the same time. Right? The ability to do two things at once builds resilience. The ability to increase your heart rate and do physical activity that strains the body is resistance. So let's talk about what that means for you. So, if resistance, remember stopping the disease as medication, almost as good as us taking carbidopa levodopa, is aerobic exercise, strength training, flexibility, and multitasking. We know that exercise has been associated with decreased inflammation and neuronal apoptosis. What does that mean? Neuronal, Lauren, do you have the definition of neuronal apoptosis? I laugh.
I don't know exactly. I think it has something to do with neuron death, I think.
Yeah, actually, very good. I'm really impressed with that. Decreased inflammation, you know what that means. It's essentially taking Advil. What the aerobic exercise does is it decreases the inflammatory qualities that unfortunately Parkinson's brings that causes stiffness, rigidity, inability to move. Exercise reduces that. Neuronal apoptosis is the dying off of neurons, but it's usually the dying off of all of the neurons that are blocking our neural pathways. Meaning, if I keep exercising, I'm going to start resisting any sort of blockages that might be causing my tremors, might be causing my rigidity, or might be causing my dystonia, or even sometimes dyskinesia. So, this is really important for us because exercise has been associated with all of those things. Remember, exercise equals medicine. Exercise has also been linked to increased BDNF levels, dopaminergic neurotransmission, and functional connectivity. Please don't ask me to repeat that word. I am not a scientist. What does that mean? It helps increase brain matter, dopamine production, functional connectivity. It's clearly just good for your brain. And the important message meaning these mechanisms support why exercise matters, but they do not mean that exercise replaces medical care, aka you must take medication and exercise at the same time. So let's go into it. What does that mean? If we understand that resistance, of course, aerobic activity, strength training, and flexibility are a part of resisting Parkinson's development or continued development, the General World Health Organization adult guidance shows that we need at least 150 to 300 minutes per week of moderate aerobic exercise, or or 75 to 150 minutes a week of vigorous exercise. So a kind of a good example, I think a lot of times, and Lauren, you can certainly add your feedback, people get confused with what vigorous exercise versus moderate exercise is. And actually, Lauren, if you are such an expert, you know so much about the difference between exercises. Do you have a good definition of what that means for you?
For me, I go on I look at my max heart rate value, which is what Jimmy Choi was talking about. But the thing that I did not know and I learned there is that they actually um, pick that value differently if you have Parkinson's, especially if you're having difficulties with your autonomic system, like your blood pressure and things like that. He said there are things that, like, you may not be able to get your heart rate up to a certain level no matter how hard you try. So I didn't realize that they took that into account with the formula that they use for heart rate value. So I need to look at that again, but I try and stick around 80% of my max heart rate value for me,
And
and that's intense.
Right. Can you, so like for those of us with an Apple Watch, right? A lot of us have it, or a lot of you have a Fitbit or heart rate monitor. Lauren, what is 80% of your heart rate? Like, what does that even mean when you're looking at this?
For me, well, excuse me, it differs for everybody because it goes on your age. And I want to caution, not everyone is going to be at the same level. I try and stay close to 140 ish, like 130 to 140 for a good part of my workout. That's intense for me. Like for Jimmy Choi, that might not be intense at all. And for other people, that would be really difficult. Jimmy did really stress the fact that you need to work at your level. And he said that, we don't want, what did he say? I wrote it down. It was, he said, we don't want it to be punishment. Exercise should be intense, but not punishment. So I would say if you're out of breath, then you're probably close to your max heart rate, but I'm no expert.
Correct. So in order to actually build resistance, remember that's the ability to help stop the progression of the disease. There's a couple of things you should be feeling. One, yes, wearable heart rate monitors like your Apple Watch, a Fitbit can tell you where your heart rate is. But two, a feeling of slight frustration. If you are doing something and you quite literally have the emotion of like, oh man, this is like pushing me, good. If you have the emotion of, I'm going to die and fall over, stop. Practical translation, right? Because you want to be reaching that level of I'm frustrated. If you don't reach that level, you're not there yet, plain and simple. And I know that's hard to tell sometimes, especially if we're feeling disconnected with our bodies. So sometimes, of course, the wearable technology is best, but some of us don't have it. And so I would like you to also check in with yourself and see where you are. So if we're talking about heart rate, we understand that that's one of the key activities, elevating your heart rate. For additional benefit, it talks about muscle strengthening at least 2 days a week. Now, a lot of us think about muscle strengthening and we're like, wow, I can't hit the gym and start lifting barbells and dumbbells and huge weights. Like, what am I going to do? Muscle strengthening can look like using a chair and doing squats while assisted, right? Muscle strengthening is targeting specific muscles with resistance, and sometimes resistance just looks like your own body weight as you're starting. I am, like I said, not an exercise expert. I would absolutely ask you to consult a physical therapist if you're struggling with muscle strengthening. However, just know that it is and should be a part of your medicine, meaning you should be doing muscle strengthening at least 2 days a week. Um, it does talk about, of course, the difference between older adults, younger adults, that varied component activities, extra emphasizing balance and strength should be used. Meaning, if you are older, yes, yoga, tai chi, dancing, ballroom dancing are all incredible, varied, multi component activities, meaning they include balance, activities, multitasking, and those are just as powerful as getting your heart rate up. However, still get your heart rate up. So just consider that those are part of the activity.
Erin, if I could jump in for a second, I just want to say when I was watching this presentation at the WPC, I was thinking as a person with Parkinson's, we have so much we have to fit into our day. And now I'm going to have to do 150 minutes a week of this and 70 minutes a week of that. But you got to remember, you might be in a rock steady boxing class and it's going to include your cardio and it's going to include your strength training. It may include your balance work. If you're at RX Ballroom, it's going to include balance work and maybe some cardio and all that stuff. So you have to remember that you can get all of that in one class and you don't have to spend 6 hours a day in the gym.
Absolutely. So most of the classes offered through Pep for You, RX Ballroom, Parkinson specific rocks, it's steady. Um, if you go to class once a week, you've already knocked out about 60 minutes. If you go to class twice a week, that's 120. Look, you almost met your quota just by
Mm-hmm.
showing up, right? So yeah, just show up. That's all we can say. But I will go into it. The one thing I want to emphasize as I go through this is I don't want you to feel overwhelmed, and there is no one telling you from this presentation that you need to conquer it all right now. But let's learn a little bit more. The research also says the Parkinson's Foundation that aerobic activity should be done at least 3 days a week for at least 30 minutes of continuous activity per session. Aerobic activity, if you're like me, that's a walk. It's a lovely walk. Hey, right now we're at 75 in beautiful weather in this sunny California. Find a shady spot and go for a little walk outside. Of course, that strength training be 2 to 3 non-consecutive days a week. Remember, non-consecutive is the key word. Allow your body time to rest and recover. And then flexibility 2 to 3 days per week with daily work most effective. All you got to do is start out your day with some morning stretches. Et voila, you have already met that goal. And of course, the balance, agility, and multitasking. One of my favorite ones because that could be pickleball, it could be dancing, it could be rock steady boxing. Those are all different activities that require balance, agility, and multitasking, thinking while doing at the same time. So, like I said, look at that. If you show up to 2 classes a week, boom, done. But remember, those classes are like medicine. You can't miss it, and you must be consistent in order for them to work.
Yeah, they really stressed even like put your exercise on your schedule so that it's there. It's just like a doctor's appointment. Don't, schedule something else in that place. Your exercise has got to be a priority.
Right? You wouldn't miss your carbidopa or levodopa pill. Don't miss your exercise. Equally
Yeah.
as important, equally as effective. So let's now talk about the difference between resistance and resilience. Of course, I've just drilled resistance into your brain. You know it as aerobic exercise, strength training, and all of the good stuff that comes with it. Resilience, however, is the building of new neural pathways. These two things should be done together. Aerobic activity, strength training, balance, agility, and multitasking, while also doing dual tasking activities that involve both motor and cognitive function. So let's talk about it. Um, that means that you're going to be doing skills that look like walking while talking. I know that sounds funny, but quite literally, walk with a partner or get on the phone. Walking while talking at the same time takes a lot of thought. Ask me, I've run into a million things. I'm sure you have too. Starting, stopping, negotiating obstacles. Physical therapists love to do this, doing little obstacle courses. I just say, it's a good activity. Go walk around a school when school gets out or starts. You will find that you have to negotiate a million and one different pathways around kids if you live near a school. I do. Different ways of doing resilience training, combining gait, balance, agility, strength, and dual tasking activities. Lauren and I have already repeated several different activities that are free and available to you right here in Orange County. Progress the exercises over time, but prioritize safety. AKA, don't jump into a huge, say, like rock steady class that's going jab, cross, jab, cross, jab, cross. If you're having trouble just simply standing and maintaining your balance, be aware, express your needs with your instructor or your physical therapist, and please make a plan that works for you. Exercise when medication timing supports your best movement when appropriate. Oh, Lauren, you could probably say this. Do not exercise when you're feeling extremely off. That could lead to potential injury, and that is not the combination we want. Exercise and medication must work at the same time. However, we are no strangers. We understand that medication optimization changes over time. You may be having less periods of on and more periods of off. You must be able to understand when your on periods are and how to negotiate that with movement. Lauren, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
Just personal experience. I know that when my meds are working, I exercise much better, much harder. If my meds are not working, my balance is worse. Definitely much more prone to injury. And they did stress to be, to uh, time your medication cycle with your exercise so that you're on when you're exercising.
Absolutely. And the most important thing is that it actually gets done. Don't skip it. You don't skip your pills. You don't skip your exercise. So, our main takeaway from resilience versus resistance, our exercise as medicine little component is members, I want you to make sure you're trying this. Pick 2 to 3 regular aerobic days. That could be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It could just be Tuesday, Thursday, and make that your days. Walking, cycling, dancing, swimming, boxing, treadmill. It doesn't matter. The only good exercise is exercise you will actually do. If you hate swimming, don't swim. There's no point in it. You won't do it. Pick something that you enjoy and that you like, and that is always going to be good exercise. Now, in addition to those 2 to 3 days, add 2 strength days focused on large muscle groups and functional movements. They can be both. On that Monday, Wednesday, Friday that you're doing the exercise, they can also be strength days. Please, you don't have to constantly do this one versus the other. Add brief balance practice to most days. Sit to stand, stepping, turning, weight shifting, or supported single leg stance. I always laugh with my RX ballroom dance students. I say go near your kitchen bar stool or your kitchen countertop, hold on to it, and literally be a flamingo. Stick one leg up and hold, stick the other leg up and hold. I took literally just 1 minute of your day, but yet you increased your balance and your strength training by tenfold. It's as simple as that. Add one real life challenge safely, meaning that I don't want you to lose your independence and mobility. Carrying a light bag, stepping over a line, turning around a cone, walking while naming categories. You guys know if you've taken cognitive or motor tests with your doctor, they have you doing these same things. No, you don't need to set up caution cones in your garage and practice this. What you should be doing though is I left my phone on the dinner table. Go and see if you can get up and get it rather than asking your care partner to get it for you. Using these different things and challenging yourself, so important. Track what gets done. When we talk about this, we're not talking about perfection, we're talking about consistency. Meaning, if you simply dedicate, even today, 1 day a week, that's it, then I'm so proud of you. You've already made a change, and that is good. That is great. We'll keep adding on it as we go, but there's no need to be perfect right now. Now, if you are a care partner on this call and not the person with Parkinson's, don't worry, I didn't forget about you. If you can help with scheduling and transportation, that is also a huge bonus. A lot of times, my care partners ask what they can do. Just know that this is a huge difference. I see this all the time in my RX classes. Help with the scheduling and transportation, not the pushing. Unfortunately, it doesn't make somebody want to exercise when you go, you didn't exercise today, get out. You know as well as I do. But if you say, hey, you know what, I can drive you over to your rock steady at 10 a.m., there you go, done. Notice patterns, the best times of days, the on and off times, the fatigue, the freezing, or the dizziness or pain. Sometimes your special person, they might not notice when they are on or off, or maybe that they're feeling more freezing or dizzy. Make sure you're just taking notes on that. That can do nothing but help. And ask, what would make this easier to start instead of why aren't you exercising? So important to frame this in a positivity and a supportive way. And of course, celebrate the completion. If your partner hasn't exercised really before, then just celebrating the 1 day that they're actually going and making that effort is huge. Lauren, did you have something to add?
For care partners, I would say go work out with them. I think setting a good example or having that accountability is a good thing. And Jimmy Choi, again, he's an athlete, but he said that athletes are going to train for what matters to them. It's not the same thing that matters to us. We're training to preserve our independence and our mobility and all that. So you have to train for that. If you want to, be able to walk down the street, you have to practice walking. If you want to be able to go up and down the curb, you have to practice going up and down the curb. So you have to practice and practice and practice so that you're ready for life when it happens.
Exactly. And Jimmy Choi's example to all of us was him being in his early 30s when he was diagnosed, and that he had just had a beautiful baby. And he had trouble walking up and down the stairs because he was unfortunately significantly overweight, out of shape, and diagnosed with Parkinson's. And he fell down the stairs with his newborn baby. That that's devastating. It was devastating to him. And the very first thing he wanted to do was learn to walk up and down those stairs safely because he never wanted that to happen again. Find the one thing that matters to you and then get a supportive team around you to help you do it. I think that's the main takeaway. Nobody thrives in an environment of guilt or shame. Everyone thrives when the whole team is around you cheering. So, and don't worry, we're your team. I'm here for you. So there you go. Just as a quick note, I can screenshot this. You can certainly do this. What I want you to do is take this away. And if you've got questions about exercise, ask this of your doctor or of your physical therapist, if you've got one that's working with you. What type of exercise is safest for me right now? Because I don't know. I don't know if walking or swimming is good for you. And I certainly don't know if dancing is great, even though I advocate for it. Ask your doctor, should I exercise during my on medication window? Maybe you're one of those odd ducks that when you're off, exercising actually gets you back on. I don't know. You need to talk to your doctor about what patterns work for you. Do I need a PT evaluation for balance, freezing, falls, pain, or dizziness? Great question. You might actually. You may need more support before you join an exercise program. Great question to ask. What should I avoid because of blood pressure, heart, orthopedic, or fall risk concerns? Oh, Lauren, you are a blood pressure. You know this. Your blood pressure gets really low and goes all sorts of in betweens.
Yep.
So important you consult your doctor. It could be medication changes you need to look at, windows you have to pay attention to. Lauren, anything else that you want to talk about for that? That's really
Well,
important.
just some simple things like hydration can help with blood pressure. So
Mhm.
definitely talk to your PT or your doctor.
And lastly, how can we progress my exercise without making it unsafe? Meaning, hey, I'm starting at step one, doc. I'm doing this rock steady program. How can we progress this, but still keep it safe for me? And then understand what that means. And if you don't get the answers from your clinician, oh my goodness, this is Ask an Expert. We literally can connect you with some of the best physical therapists, occupational therapists, and exercise programs in the entire county. So please never be afraid to ask. Like I said, screenshot these questions or watch this as a review because these questions are so valuable to take to your doctor. So I'm going to stop this share right now. I've got more to go, lots more to go. In fact, I've got 6 different whole topics of presentations. But before I move on, I want to, of course, allow for any questions. It is Ask an Expert. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or experiences they would like to share?
One thing that they noted when I was there is that, I didn't know this. They said much of the research is done, it excludes those with cognitive difficulty. So the research is not necessarily going to show what people with a cognitive deficit may get out of exercise. So caution is to be used in that case.
Exactly. And Lauren, you know as well as I do, there were 2 types, or actually 3 types of people that got excluded from exercise studies. What they considered on the Hoehn-Yahr scale, level 4 and level 5, which are the most progressed in the disease. Most people over the age of 80, so our older subset or group. And then, of course, like you were just saying, anybody with diagnosed cognitive impairment or dementia, which is so unfair because we want to understand how exercise can be remedied for all groups, not just those who tend to fall right in the middle. So, all right. Any other questions before I move on? Wow. Either, as I always say this, either I'm doing a great job or you don't understand anything at all. I'm just kidding.
You
Michael's
got two
giving me a
thumbs up
thumbs
from
up.
Michael.
I know, no. And like I said, please feel free to stop me at any time. As I mentioned, I am not by any sort of intimidating person that whatsoever. You can always stop me and ask questions.
You know, I went into the WPC knowing that exercise was good for me, but it was so good to hear again that they showed study after study after study is showing the same thing, that exercise really is beneficial. It's really, really helping.
Absolutely.
Kind of, it was motivating, gave me a kick in the butt.
Okay, now the next one you should see is called music, rhythm, dance, and walking. You see it on your screen? Okay, cool. Awesome. If you see it, then I see it. Perfect. All right. So it is interesting though. When we talk about exercise, yeah, it's lovely. We're like, yeah, go box, uh, go do pickleball. But it is kind of an interesting concept if we're wondering for those of us who are nerdy, like myself, What that means in terms of rhythm, dancing, walking, and music, and how that impacts the brain in terms of effectiveness. After all, we just talked about resilience, right? We talked about building new neural pathways. What does the research suggest when it comes to doing specific rhythms? Now, this is an interesting lecture that I'm about to go into because no, I'm not just advocating for dancing, although you know me, I'm going to advocate to dance. It is advocating for rhythm cadence, meaning it's advocating for metronomic type qualities, aka metronomes that you can either have on your watch, audio, visual, or even what we're about to learn are foot strikes. So let's go ahead and jump right in. This lecture is about why rhythm may help with walking automaticity, meaning that we're walking regularly instead of having what we call that Parkinson's gait, that slowness, that stiffness, or the sort of hiccup and the sort of smoothness of the quality of our steps. We are going to talk about the freezing of gait and auditory cueing, how those go hand in hand. We're going to talk about dance as a multi-domain intervention. You know me, that's one of my favorites. And we're going to talk about dual tasking, but how to practice it safely. By the way, walking and talking, hard to do at the same time. Definitely you have bumped into things. Told you that. I don't have Parkinson's and it's hard to do. So here's the wonderful thing I've already told Lauren. I took a lot of time at the World Parkinson's Congress to not just, of course, attend the big seminars, to go into the posters. There were over 40 different posters every single day from universities around the world that did different studies based on different concepts. I took a lot of different pictures, and I've got these here. Like I said, you are free to have my slideshow as well as view this recording. This first one was on rhythm auditory stimulation and how it reduces prefrontal cortex activation during walking, aka it's not as complicated as it sounds. It's just talking about resilience. It's dual tasking, doing both motor cortex and cognitive function. In this study, the Boston University poster reported that rhythmic auditory stimulation reduced prefrontal cortex demand during walking. Um, Let me kind of talk about a little bit what that means in terms of plain English. In this 29-person study, rhythmic auditory stimulation was linked with improved gait quality. It highlighted longer strides and faster walking with stronger effects at faster tempos. And it talked about how rhythm may help the brain offload some walking effort and support automaticity. Guys, this is a really fancy, very fancy way of saying listen to good music while you take a walk. Honestly, if all you were doing was putting on the Bee Gees and going, ha, 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 staying alive, right? That rhythmic auditory cueing keeps your body moving regularly. And I'm going to be so embarrassed when this goes up on YouTube and it catches me singing, but that's
I was
okay.
just thinking that, Erin.
That's all right. You know what? I no shame. I love my auditory cueing. If this is on, even if you snip it and put it on a meme, I don't care. The point being that, yeah, if you're listening to music or rhythmic cueing and you're walking at the same time, it is shown time and time and time again that it one improves your gait and two improves your stride and gets you walking faster. Translation, if you're feeling stiff, put music on and go walking. It's just going to change your life. It's as simple as that. We don't need a study to show that a good set of AirPods and your phone on a walk will change your gait and your rhythmic automaticity. Lauren, did you have anything to add to it?
This was no surprise to me whatsoever because I know that I move better when I listen to music. I'll put music on. I've said it to groups before. I put music on in the kitchen at the end of the day when I have to chop vegetables and things because when the music is on, I chop more fluidly. It's almost like I chop to the beat, but I don't know why it works, but it does.
I know why it works because
Yeah, all the
dancing
brain
is
stuff.
good. No. It quite literally uh, helps the synapses in your brain beat out quite literally dopamine at the rhythm of the thing, meaning that as the beat goes, your brain quite literally produces dopamine at the same rhythm, which is cool because every time your brain hears the beat, it's like boost, 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 and it keeps it going all along, which makes your quality of movement smooth. It's really cool.
Well, it's also a mood booster, I think.
Right? It
So,
just makes
yeah.
you happy. So I don't care if you turn on the Bee Gees or, death rock punk metal. It really doesn't matter what you're listening to. Maybe we're not death rock punk metal kind of people, but the point being, turn on some good music that you love and listen to it. Um, Another thing to, of course, go along with the same sort of theme. This is called a foot strike. It's the effect of foot strike triggered auditory feedback. So here's interesting. These people in this study, they weren't listening to the Bee Gees, unfortunately, because they're really great. So instead, what they were listening to, the sound of foot striking, do do do, right? That striking of the foot, meaning in their ears, they were listening to footsteps, the sound of footsteps walking, right? Now, that sound of listening to footsteps triggered auditory feedback. That meant that their percent time of being frozen in the foot, like meaning if they were feeling freezing, it dropped from 93% to 33%. In the walking task, meaning that like if you from the time, I mean, I don't know their scale, but the percent time of being frozen dropped 60% by hearing the sound of footsteps walking, right? It's like your brain associated the sound of the heels tapping on the ground with the literal ability for you to move your body. So that was cool, actually. If you are not a music person, which I can't understand, but if you're not, I would actually suggest, isn't it interesting if you listen to a footstep track? Lauren, I think that's just good food for thought, especially if one of your symptoms is freezing, or maybe even sort of dystonia, that's the freezing of your feet and the inability to move, that crunchy. I would wonder if hearing footsteps could help you. This study showed that it dramatically affected the people involved. And it said the poster reported that total freezing time dropped from 67 seconds to no sound to 4 seconds. Foot strike trigger feedback. It's their fancy way, like I said, that it drops significantly. Um, just to qualify, though, this is a case report. It's not proof that it's going to work for everybody, but it is really interesting how it explored individualized cueing. Like, I'm just laughing because Bee Gees would cue me, right? The Staying Alive song, but foot strikes might actually cue you. Play around with it. Maybe the sound of buzzing bees cue you. I don't know. Auditory cueing is powerful, though, and it releases synapses in the brain that medication or exercise can't do alone. So, yeah, interesting. Lauren, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah. You can get a metronome app on your phone. So you could just get that tick, 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 or whatever beats per minute you want and see it might help you. I mean, I don't think it's going to hurt to
No,
try it.
none of this will hurt. It'll be interesting. But it is interesting though, Lauren, that it was specifically the sound of foots, the sound, like in movies,
Yeah.
how you hear that sound of footsteps going. It was the sound of foot strikes, literally the footsteps on the floor that
Yeah.
triggered
But I
that.
wonder
So,
if that would be different than some other, just a rhythmic beat, just a metronome
right?
sound. I don't know.
Laura.
Interesting. That study proved it. Yeah. Oh, yes, Michael.
Um, when I go walking with my wife sometimes, she'll get behind me and go heel toe, because I'm doing the shuffle. So maybe I should get a recording of her and just play that all the time I'm walking.
So what would this one says in it's a case report that supports exploring individualized cueing. There you go, Michael. This one proves your individual cueing is your wife literally going heel toe.
My personal trainer.
Yeah, what do you know? Care partner and everything. I love it. Yeah, I honestly, I would say you do you, but I think the point being that no matter what you listen to, whether it's your wife on repeat foot strikes or actual songs, it's going to keep your rhythmical cueing much more automated, meaning you don't have to think about it. It will just happen automatically, which is great. That's what we want. Of course, one of my favorites, this was called Dancing with Parkinson's. It was deconstructing dancing in a Parkinson's class and why that was good for you. What I love about this study is it finally gave validity to the emotional side of dancing. Yes, yes, yes. We can talk about 10 ways from Sunday. Dancing helps you with balance, agility, mobility, flexibility, dual tasking. We know that. I've already repeated it, but it also gives credence to the art behind it. So, key elements include imagery, storytelling, partner based movement, music and rhythmic cueing, hand gestures, facial expressions, social mirroring. The poster emphasized that participants are treated as artists, not patients, and the member translation being that dance can combine movement, rhythm, expression, connection, and confidence in one activity. Um, so this is a fancy way, guys, of saying something like this. I'm going to admit something to you. Don't tell the internet, although this will be public. I hate going to the gym. I don't like just exercising. I get bored. I get antsy. However, when I get to be an artist and I get to move and express and be and storytell and use my creative brain, oh my gosh, I'm doing 10 times more exercises than I could ever do with a single weight system. Meaning that for me, the artistic side craves storytelling, imagery, partner based expression, mobility. If that's your game, then this exercise is a great one for you. So it's just all of that to say that this is a really important component and you should actually lean into it. Lauren, did you have anything to add? I don't to any of that.
If you have any interest in this area at all, I really highly suggest you read the book Your Brain on Art. It came out a couple years ago. It's a New York Times bestseller, and it talks about the actual changes that happen in your brain when you dance or when you look at art or when you paint or listen to music. It can actually change your brain. So
Absolutely. And we did a session in April called Your Brain on Art, where we explored impressionistic painting and the amazing feedback we got, where everybody loved just being an artist for a day, really delving into artistic joy and experience and just having a great time. So important that you not just focus on exercise, exercise, exercise. Or even, Michael, for you, heel toe, heel toe, heel toe. Although we love a good heel toe. But that you allow yourself to indulge in the creative side, whatever that might be. And it doesn't always have to be softy skills. It could also just be creative death metal rock punk. It doesn't matter. Creativity is creativity in whatever way you see fit. All right. So, just a little last sort of aspect of this. What the research talked about was dual tasking activities that involved, of course, the motor cortex and the cognitive function. So, just to, of course, go back to the WPC slides define dual tasking as, of course, simultaneous motor and cognitive tasks. And of course, the sort of goals that the WPC wanted to get out of that is the ability to improve and manage complex real world scenarios, meaning that the whole point behind a lot of this research was they wanted you to be able to talk on the phone and walk at the same time. They wanted you to be able to pick up your phone over on the table if you forgot it before you go out and take your dog for a walk. They want you to be able to drop a pen and pick it up without having to fear falling over. These are really important aspects that we talked about improving your quality of life. Um, I mean, what that translates to in fancy terms, that's neuroplasticity, it's neural efficiency, it's attentional capacity, it's movement automaticity, and it's cognitive flexibility. But at the end of the day, any one of these fancy terms just means we want you to be able to live your life independently and not have to, of course, depend on others or feel limited in what you can do. So, the end of that sort of structure, what you need to be doing is I want you sometime in the next couple of weeks use music with a steady beat for walking or dance practice. So for those of you who are like super into jazz, I love great jazz music. And I'm going to tell you right now, don't do it. Ah, breaks my heart to say it. However, jazz music, complex classical music, oftentimes uses different rhythmical cadences, which make it a gorgeous artistic piece. However, it's not good actually for walking automaticity. What you want to be listening to if you're trying this method is tried and true pop music whether it's a good disco from the 70s, whether it's Motown from the 60s, or whether it's Justin Bieber, I don't care. But I want you to turn on pop music or something with a heavy percussion, meaning something with a really standard timing. That's going to give you the best quality in terms of rhythmic automaticity. Unfortunately, you may have to avoid classical music or jazz music when you're trying this. Certainly feel free to always put that on in the background though while you're living your life, because I love it. Try counting steps, naming animals, or saying months while marching in a place near support. I know what it's telling you to do. It's telling you to use your brain and your body at the same time. No, you don't have to go around saying tiger, elephant, monkey. You could even just simply go through your grocery checklist while you're walking around the house. Just try and do both at the same time. Practice turning slowly with a cue. Big step, turn, and pause. If you're not sure about what turning practice means for you, join an RX ballroom dance class or simply ask your physical therapist to help you practice turning slowly and with proper balance and agility. For freezing, ask a physical therapist about external cueing. They can absolutely help you with a rhythm metronome, laser lines, stepping over visual targets, or auditory prompts. Lauren was talking a little bit about this, whether you've got a metronome on your watch, whether you've got laser lines that you're like aiming towards so you're walking straight or stepping over. Regardless, you have either external cues, and external cues, meaning things that you can hear or see, are going to help you. And stop, always pause, put the brakes on. If your quality gets worse, safety comes first. If the task is too hard and you feel like you have a balance issue or you might fall, please do not do it. We're not pushing you over the edge, we're just challenging you. And in terms of care partner support, stand nearby for balance heavy practice, but do not distract. Michael, it's Pam. Pam is your wife, right? Yeah, okay. So Pam,
Yes.
I urge you, you can say heel toe, but don't distract Michael.
Okay.
Okay. No, of course your partner can be there for support, but meaning as in we want to give our partners plenty of time to practice on their own without necessarily be distracting. Avoid rapid fire questions while the person is walking unless dual tasking is intentional and supervised. Meaning, hey, you can ask them what they want for dinner tonight, but maybe avoid asking them about their 10-point checklist for getting something done, especially if you're practicing both at the same time for the first time. Help them choose music that is motivating but not too fast. Hey, care partner, find some good
Hey.
music you both can listen to. It'll be great. I think you should. So, Pam, your job in this next thing is choose music that Michael has to listen to and tell him he has no choice because you're gonna listen to it together.
How about Janis Joplin?
I love Janis Joplin. Oh yes, 1,000% yes. That's right. I mean, come on.
Okay.
You how can you not? Um,
Did Michael tell you about the blue tape?
no. What's the blue tape?
Well, I go through the house and I look at things that need to be done. And I put a piece of blue paint tape on that item. And then that way, every time, and this is for both of us, every time we see that item, it reminds us, oh, this is something we need to do.
Helps our cognitive
Yes,
process.
it actually works better than the list because there's only one thing you're looking at a time.
That's amazing. So, Pam, whether you knew it or not, you're doing what research called external cueing,
Yes.
which I love because it's a visual cue and it helps you focus on one thing at a time.
Right.
Pam, we're going to dub you a research expert. You can lead the
Oh,
next
thank
one.
you. Well, I spent 35 years working with developmentally handicapped adults. So I've taken and yes, and he now is my new patient.
Don't encourage her, Aaron. Please.
So basically, all of the members on here today, if you want tips on external cueing and dealing with partners who might be difficult to work with, Michael volunteered himself as one of those. Please ask Pam.
My
Well,
husband
guys,
doesn't have Parkinson's, but I think I'm going to do this passive to-do list and just start putting some tape around the house.
blue taping everywhere. Yeah, that's
Be
I
the
love it.
honeydew list.
The honeydew list is blue tape now.
3M
Uh,
also.
to wrap it all up, it's the same as the other one. These are great questions to go bring to your doctor. Like I said, screenshot them, or I can share them, or watch this video on record. I want you to ask your doctor or your physical therapist or your exercise professional, could rhythmic cueing help my gait or freezing? By the way, I'm pretty sure the answer is yes, but just make sure you're checking in. Would I benefit from a physical therapist who specializes in Parkinson's? Yes, always. But I want you to check in. What dual tasking exercises are safe for my balance level? Oh my gosh, please ask your medical professional, physical therapist, or exercise professional. Please do not do a Michael Lander and go walking like crazy unless you clear so from your doctor, unless you've got Pam with you, because apparently Pam will help you. Um, and are there times when I should avoid multitasking while walking? Yes, absolutely. Ask your doctor and make sure that you're doing what's safest for you. And lastly, how can dance, music, or group exercise fit into my weekly routine? If you're already asking the question, you're already one step ahead of the game. So, guys, I'm going to stop that share. It is literally 12:59, which does allow us about one question or one more minute for any questions. Does anybody have any thoughts, questions, or any wonderings about the information that we found from the World Parkinson's Congress? Nice. I don't know, like I said,
Very
either I
good.
conquer I was like either I conquer it all or we don't understand it. But let's hope that maybe we conquered some good information today. So today's session focused mostly on resistance versus resilience. Those slide decks will be available in the next newsletter. So they are there for you to click on, go through, screenshot, steal, or just plain old give to your doctor. And then the video recording of this session will be available on our YouTube. I will post that again to our newsletter. If you are not subscribed, please go to our website, make sure that you are on that list. And then secondly, the next Ask an Expert session will focus on a few key topics, including women's and Parkinson's, technology and Parkinson's, and how it's actually changing our future and what it can do to help you. I thought some of those topics were extremely fascinating because it talked about the intervention and in the complex connections between hormones, both premenopausal and postmenopausal, and its effect on Parkinson's, and how one that has never been studied before. And then two, what technology, such as your Apple Watch or your phone, now does for you in terms of your symptoms, and how it gets your clinician to really listen to you without you being, say, expressing your emotions, but instead proving data and facts over what's happening in your life. So let's go ahead and wrap it up for today. Any last questions before we say goodbye? All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining me again. Erin Angelo, I'm the Executive Director for Parkinson's Orange County. Feel free, reach out to me anytime. Our email is info at parkinsonsoc.org, or visit the website, parkinsonsoc.org. Again, we are here for your resources, education, and expertise. All right, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you next month as we cover more topics from World Parkinson's Congress. I appreciate your time. Thanks, guys. See you later. Bye.